It is time to expand minds through movies, TV, sports, and flicks. It is time to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. It is time for the Captain Talks Flicks.
The Captain Talk Flicks.
Welcome to the Captain Talks Flicks podcast. I'm your host, the Captain Cortez, aka Mr. Love, and this is where we talk flicks. I welcome the podcast where me, the Captain, talks about movies, TV, sports, flicks, anything you can see on the tuber screen. I like to get on here and give my unique perspective, because after 47 years of being on planet Earth, I've developed a unique perspective about these movies, TV, sports, and flicks, and I like to get into about it. Because just maybe you care. In accord to the stats, it looks like you do care. I want to give a big shout out to the UAE. Got some plays over in the UAE this past week. Gracias, gratitude, Dodorba. And UAE, I heard you guys are about to have the Tanweer Sacred Music Festival. I was reading about it online. Sounds very cool. Sounds like something that the captain would really be into. So very cool. Like you guys having that cool festival down there. And just FYI, back in the day, went to school to radio DJ, but I never got a job. I think I never got a job because I just didn't have the awareness. If I would have had a little bit more awareness, then maybe it would enable me to become a radio DJ. But I didn't. And it allowed me to become the greatest podcaster in the Matrix. So up to debate, might be true, might not be true. But I said it on the internet, so it's gotta be true, right? Because everything on the internet is facts, not facts, true, false, propaganda, fake news, the Matrix, CDs, DVDs, 8-tracks, Laserdisc, VHS. I don't know. I didn't make the internet. Ask the people that made the internet. So when you're online, just be aware, just watch out. Anyways, gonna ramble you all day, but it won't. Let's get right to the podcast. But first, a word from our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes I rap. And last year, me and Sun Tzu Cosmic dropped a song called Rabbit Holes of Thought. Yeah, we rapped last year. It's very fun, enjoyable experience. Me and Sun Tzu Cosmic dropping some creative, artistic expression, rapping only the way we can over some cool, spacey hip-hop beats. So if you want to hear the track called Rabbit Holes of Thought, I'll put a link below. Check it out and hear me and Sun Tzu Cosmic rapping and rhyming. So check out the link now. Let's get on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back again. It's a lovely, beautiful day. I just got back from the grocery store, buying my groceries. I'm pushing a little cart around, getting drinks and food to fuel this body. Because as we walk the path of life, we need to keep our body fueled, right? It's got to stay energized and just working really well. So in order to keep that body working well, to get you to do what you need to do, you got to keep it fueled. So are you really thinking about what you put in your mouth and what you push in your body? I was thinking about it this morning. Every piece of food I buy, the goal is to maximize the efficiency of this body. So whatever I got to do to make that happen, I'm doing. I hope you're doing the same thing with your food choices, right? I mean, some stuff is good, some is not. And each situation can be different. But, cater your diet to make you the best optimal version of yourself you can do, right? Get the most out, most energy, most growth, most expansion, just fueling the body properly. So yeah, just got back from the grocery store. Very cool. Save a lot of money too, which is very cool as well. So did that, and now it is time to podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, this week I got to visit a world that I really love. A world that I really love, a world that I felt was a breath of fresh air when this world first came out into the cinema. It was something in the sea of superheroes and the sea of just kind of redoing reboots and seeing the same thing over and over again. We got to explore a new IP. And I'm talking about John Wick, the world of John Wick. I got to see the Continental, the world of John Wick. Basically like kind of a spin-off of the franchise John Wick. And it was absolutely magnificent. But before I get to that, a couple things. First of all, there will be spoilers. And second of all, I do own some shares in the parent company of Peacock. I just want to be clear and transparent to let you know. Now that I told you that, let's get into the Continental from the world of John Wick. So ladies and gentlemen, right from the jump, we got to experience what John Wick is known for. And I'm talking violence. I mean, the world of John Wick movies are extra violent. Violence in all types of ways. I think no violence can happen. It's very entertaining. Generally, I don't like to watch violence, but something about the John Wick makes it look artistic. It's very weird. It's weird to say this, but the John Wick violence is very artistic violence, if there is such a thing. I've seen violence in movies for so many years, like 40 some years. And then just when John Wick first came out, and the way the violence was depicted, it just seemed like artsy, artistic violence. I don't know how else to describe it. And in this show, they kind of continue that kind of style of fighting and violence, the artistic violence. Yeah, you heard it here first. The captain phrases John Wick violence and fighting as artistic violence. So there's, the more of that John Wick artistic violence in this show, right from the jump. And also, you get to go a little deeper into the John Wick world and expand upon it, go a little more detail upon it, which I always thought would be cool. When I first saw the movies, I thought just exploring that John Wick world would be just a great thing to do. And there's so many different ways they could do it. I really felt that world could grow and expand. And this is another chapter in expanding that world. And I hope there's many more to come. So yeah, the show was fun. First episode called Brother in Arms. Very fun, very cool. I enjoyed it. If you like John Wick, you're getting the same thing here. Just a little more detailed, a little more dialogue, a little more story getting flushed out because it is a TV show. But it's fun. We get to see the origins of Winston. How did Winston become who he became, right? We get to see the beginning of that, right? Everybody has an origin story. I have an origin story. You have an origin story. We all have it. And that's what I kind of got out of the episode. So in the episode, Winston is out living his life out overseas in Europe somewhere. And all of a sudden he's snatched from that world to handle some business back where he came from, right? So he's living his life. He's got his routine, doing his thing. And all of a sudden there's a deviation. There's a break in that routine. And I'm sure as a human being, we've all experienced that. I've experienced a few different times in my life. Sometimes they're minor and sometimes they're major. If you're living life as a human being, hopefully you don't see a lot of major disruptions in your routine, but chances are, being a human being, you will experience at least a couple times, I would imagine. I've experienced it a few times. I don't really like them when it happens, but a lot of times that happens. And then what happens after the disruption in your routine and pattern will shape the rest of your path you walk, right? And in this show, we see how Winston becomes what he becomes because there was a break in the routine, a disruption in his lifestyle that majorly impacted his life's path. We get to see the catalyst and where that starts at. And that's kind of the lesson from the show, that as you walk life, there will be disruptions in routines and patterns that are going to disrupt your life, which I do not like, not a big fan of, but they happen, and I'm more aware of them now. And they could possibly change the trajectory of your life. When these things happen to you, these are game changers. And the question is, when they happen, how are you going to move from that? What path are you going to walk from that? You know, I just experienced it a couple years ago, back in like 2019. And after 2019, my life had significantly changed quite a bit. And it was unexpected, unplanned, unexpected, but it did. And even before that, a few years before that, it changed again. I had a couple major changes within the last 7-8 years that impacted me significantly. You might not be able to tell by the podcast because I was doing the podcast the whole time. I was doing this podcast then and now through all this. So even though I was going through all the stuff I was going through, which I never talk about, and I'm not whining or complaining, it is what it is. Somehow, some way, these podcasts still got made, and I never talked about it. But there were some major changes that happened behind the scenes that I walked and significantly impacted my life, even though you probably can't tell by the podcast because there's no sense in going there. But it did happen. And then on top of that, after all those things, then all of a sudden the pandemic hit, which shifted and changed all our lives, right? So even if you haven't had any major disruptions to your pattern in your life yourself, most of us can probably say that the pandemic significantly altered or changed or disrupted our lifestyle and maybe changed your entire life path. Very possible. So that's what goes on in the Continental. And on top of that, at the end of the first episode, spoilers, Winston's brother gets killed right in front of him. Right? So not only was he snatched from his regular routine to go back to where he's from to deal with some whatever, and then his brother is killed right in front of him. Another major disruption in the lifestyle, right? Which is going to heavily impact him, I would think. I mean, how could it not? So some two major disruptions in his lifestyle, and these events is what steers him to become the Winston we know in the John Wick films. Yeah, so we got 2 more episodes left. Should be an interesting story to follow, interesting story to watch. Should be fun, exciting. A lot of violence, but a lot of cool, deep storytelling as well. I like the show. Now, I've not went online to see what the reviewers or movie critics and experts, quote, are saying about it. Or even the regular folks doing reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know. I'm not sure what the reception is. I'll probably check it after I do this podcast. But where I'm sitting at, I like the show. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. I can't wait to the next episode. So anyways, dope show. And it wasn't Star Trek, bro. It is something other than Star Trek. It's amazing. One other thing. I think my second most favorite franchise other than Star Trek is probably going to be John Wick. So I would say The Matrix, but The Matrix, they're not really doing nothing with The Matrix. And I don't think they will do anything. Because The Matrix is like my favorite movie. But I don't feel they're going to really do anything with it. Probably not. It's probably hard to do TV shows with The Matrix, I would think. I don't know. But I think the world of John Wick is going to keep expanding. I feel it's going to do that, kind of get that vibe. So I would say out of all the franchises currently out there in the universe, I would say my second favorite franchise other than Star Trek as of this recording is probably the John Wick franchise. And that's a strong statement because there's a lot of franchises out there. You know the ones. You see them all the time. You see them at the theater. You see them on TV. You see them on streaming services. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to name drop none of these. But I'm just saying, to pick John Wick out of all these other franchises with all their movies, all their TV shows, all this, and pick that out of the world of all these franchises, this is a big statement. But like I said from the jump, and I said on the podcast, I felt that John Wick film series was just very fresh. Right? It's very fresh. I liked it a lot. So yeah, I would say that. John Wick, the world of John Wick, the whole world. I love it. Second most favorite franchise. That's a strong statement, but it's true. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, go check out the Continental. Ladies and gentlemen, go watch all the John Wick movies. Ladies and gentlemen, just experience the world. And currently, right now, over at Peacock, Continental's there. The first 3 John Wicks are there. So you can explore the world of John Wick. So yeah, love the show, love the world, very cool. Can't wait till next week. And this concludes the podcast. And until next time, we'll see you. Change your mind, change your life. Until next time, it's Captain Peace.
The Captain Talks Flicks.